Donald Trump was having a meltdown at 12:30 a.m., making deranged post after deranged post as his regime appears to be covering up U.S. casualties, or at least very serious injuries, and his catastrophic escalation of the war in Iran. Here's what we are learning. A third medical evacuation mission from the Middle East took place in the last 5 days. A U.S. Air Force C-17A Globemaster conducted 2 patient pickups in Saudi Arabia before continuing to Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Now, the U.S. says there's no casualties and don't even pay attention to what's happening here. But earlier this week, there was another medevac mission that appeared to rendezvous with a patient as well. When you look at some of the kind of satellite and air traffic data. Now, this does not independently confirm that there are indeed combat casualties, but as this one account notes, it does raise a lot of serious questions. What is actually going on? And of course, Donald Trump wants to distract from that. He wants to distract from the fact that the strategic petroleum reserves continue to be depleted. So what does Donald Trump, a WMD, weapon of mass distraction, do? Well, he's posting videos of himself at 12:30 a.m., bragging that he's #1 on TikTok, as he calls TikTok, even though he's not #1. I don't even know what data he's talking about. He's not #1. He's posting weird videos of himself from like the early 90s. And it's like, Donald Trump is a trailblazer. He's posting these weird photos of like the Trump 250 Grand Prix, whatever the hell he's doing now. He's turning Washington, D.C. into like a racetrack. He's posting weird videos of Dan Scavino, one of his top advisors, bowling. I mean, he posted that at 12:37 a.m. This video of Dan Scavino bowling, which I'm not going to play. Let me just show you a short clip of like what the TikTok video is. Look, I'm #1 on TikTok, everybody. Don't pay attention to the catastrophic war. Don't pay attention to the fact that I'm crashing the economy. Don't pay attention to the fact that the United States, by the way, just imposed 25% across the board tariffs on Brazil. Yeah, last night when you were sleeping, the Trump regime imposed 25% tariffs on Brazil because the Trump regime wants to install Flavio Bolsonaro, their insurrectionist former president Jair Bolsonaro's kid, to become the leader. So Trump and Bolsonaro's kid coordinated tariffs to inflict pain on Brazil in order to extort Brazil. And that was implemented last night as part of Marco Rubio's attempt to work with Donald Trump to dominate the Western Hemisphere in a new form of extortive imperialism that we're seeing right now, when Donald Trump calls that the Don Roe Doctrine, just straight up trying to destroy the Western Hemisphere. Let me just...
He's an asshole. He is so dangerous, and what he brings to my country, what he's awakened in my country is bigotry and distrust and a certain kind of supremacy in certain groups, and he lies. He tells something, and then you go back and you see what he said, and it seems like the truth both times. He's so terrific at lying. I've never seen anybody so good. I mean, it's amazing. I could go on this subject forever because I'm so traumatized by him.
Here is a sentence that Cher posted publicly, aimed directly at Donald Trump, using language so raw and so unfiltered that she eventually had to walk part of it back. Not because the underlying sentiment was wrong, but because of a single crude joke buried inside it. I would love to see Trump impeached, brought to trial, locked up in prison, and Toy Boy Big Bubba! That is Cher, one of the most decorated performers in the history of American entertainment, posting in her signature all caps, abbreviation-heavy style that has made her, according to multiple entertainment outlets, one of the single most consistently devastating celebrity critics of Donald Trump across an entire decade. Welcome to USA Press. Tonight, we are going deep into the real, fully documented history of Cher versus Donald Trump. Not a fabricated live television confrontation, because we checked, and that story doesn't exist. But something considerably more interesting. An actual, decade-long, meticulously documented war of words that has played out almost entirely on social media, in real time, since the very week Trump first announced his campaign for president. This matters because Cher is not some minor celebrity whose political opinions carry little weight. She remains, by any reasonable measure, one of the most decorated and enduring performers in the history of American popular music, with a career spanning parts of 7 consecutive decades, an Academy Award, a Grammy, an Emmy, and a level of sustained cultural relevance that few entertainers of any generation have matched. That stature is precisely why her sustained criticism of Trump has generated so much media attention over the years. Not because a random private citizen posted something angry on Twitter, but because one of the most famous entertainers alive has consistently, publicly, and repeatedly staked out a position against a sitting and former president for the better part of a decade. Let's get into it. Before we go any further, we need to be completely transparent with you about something, because honesty matters more to us than a catchy headline. If you searched for this story yourself, you may have come across videos claiming Cher destroyed or exposed Trump in some dramatic live television confrontation. We looked into those claims specifically, and we found no legitimate news coverage supporting them. No transcript, no verified clip, no reporting from any credible outlet. Multiple nearly identical videos circulated across different channels within the same narrow window of weeks, each using slightly varied titles.
Show you first this video that Donald Trump made of him saying, "I'm #1 on TikTok." Here, just play a short clip of it.
I'm #1 on TikTok. Can you believe it? I'm #1. Look at those numbers.
And then this was a short clip of the video. Again, he's releasing these videos at midnight into 1 a.m. Here, play this clip.
Would make a less daring man shudder.
To think about the arc of where he's been in, it's like some sort of mythical story or something.
And these weird photos of himself with this Grand Prix race thing. Now, look, the American people see what's going on. In the latest Harvard-Harris poll right here, when the question was, this is to independents, is the economy today better or worse than it was when Biden was president? Overwhelmingly, 59% to 41% say the economy was better under former President Biden. Now, let's be honest in the sense that the first 2 years under former President Biden, it was rough. Inflation was high. You can't deny that. However, it was because he was the firefighter putting out the arson. He had to fix what Trump destroyed during Donald Trump's first term when Trump didn't only mishandle COVID, Trump caused catastrophic calamity. Biden had to come in, be an adult, fix it. He did fix it. He left with 3% inflation. Now inflation's significantly higher. Inflation was going to be at 2%. Trump tariffed the world, is involved in this catastrophic war in Iran that he entered into with Netanyahu that he wants to escalate. And the American people are suffering. It's obvious we're way worse off than we were under former President Biden. And just while Donald Trump's making those deranged posts, while it appears there's a cover-up of casualties taking place, let me just play for you this video. This is some of the scenes from Tehran last night during an extensive U.S. bombing campaign. And there was also outside of Tehran, Iran had its air defenses where it was shooting at the U.S. planes. But first, let me show you these scenes from Tehran. Let's play it. And we'll just show you A, which is the scenes just outside of Tehran. But I thought Donald Trump said that he obliterated all of Iran's anti-aircraft and air defense systems. It seems like they're shooting stuff out there. It seems like they certainly got a defense system. And again, as I said before, we know that there are med-evac planes in the area attached to the U.S. that are going from the Middle East to Germany. What they're doing, we don't know. But anyway, let me play this clip.
I don't know how he is a candidate. He is so dangerous and
crowd because I just believe that, you know, he's shown who he was. Seen anybody lie so good, he would be the greatest actor because you can't really tell when he's lying and when he's telling.
Meltdown. BLOWLSDHELIDOFF-GOES-NUCLEAR. A pattern that, based on everything we've learned, tracking similar fabricated stories across this entire series, from the fake Melania lawsuit to the fake Don Jr. cease and desist letter, is a reliable signature of coordinated engagement farming content production rather than organic news coverage of a real event. One version we found was explicitly labeled by its own creator as a fictional late-night TV dramatization. Snopes, the fact-checking organization, has separately debunked a fabricated story claiming Cher clapped back at White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt after Leavitt supposedly called her irrelevant. A story Snopes traced back to an AI-generated article published by a website showing signs of being run out of Vietnam. Snopes also debunked a separate viral claim, recirculating an old, real 2016 Cher quote as though it were brand new commentary. We're telling you all of this up front because our entire purpose on this channel is to give you accurate information, and manufacturing a fake made-for-television confrontation would betray exactly the kind of trust we're trying to build with you. So instead, tonight, we're giving you something better, the real story, and it is genuinely remarkable on its own merits. It's worth understanding a bit more about who Cher actually is beyond her music career, because her specific background as a longtime activist gives real context to why her political commentary has carried such consistent weight for decades. Long before her sustained criticism of Trump began, she had established herself as a vocal advocate for LGBTQ rights and women's rights, using her platform consistently across decades of public life to engage with political and social causes rather than simply remaining a purely entertainment figure. She campaigned actively for Hillary Clinton in 2016, appearing at fundraisers and using her considerable public platform to support Clinton's candidacy directly.
Then Donald Trump made this weird post: Iran has allowed an American citizen who was wrongfully detained in December 2024 under the presidency of Sleepy Joe Biden to leave the country. She's now safely outside of Iran and in good condition. The United States appreciates this gesture of goodwill by the Iranian president. What are you even talking about? You appreciate the goodwill by what? By bombing Tehran, by bombing right next to a children's hospital last night where a children's cancer treatment center had to be evacuated while you were attacking a mineral water facility in Iran. Oh, and by the way, late last night, Donald Trump bragging how much he loves data centers, right? He goes, everybody loves data centers. Trump says it's liquid gold. Trump says one of the biggest driving forces in the future for jobs are data centers. They're big, strong, bold. They're money machines. They're cash cows. They're liquid gold, he says. They will lower taxes and they create record-setting jobs. Really, it's kind of the opposite. If you want to know why there's a jobs recession right now, it's because AI data centers are wiping out jobs, and also your tariffs against the world are destroying hospitality jobs. I can go on and on and on. Then Donald Trump goes, they, the data centers, must pay for their own water and power, and any leftover goes back to the state and local communities. They're tremendous wins, Donald Trump says, for states and communities. Donald Trump is saying the data centers are the greatest thing for the communities. Why don't you ask communities where there are data centers, how that's going for their electrical prices, how that's going for their health, how that's going for the community in general, how it's going for pollution and for the noise. You see communities saying data centers, data centers. Quite the contrary. And by the way, where the hell are the Democrats on this, or anybody? This should be an issue that's so easy. It's handed to you on a silver platter, not because it's the politically expedient thing to do, because it's the right thing to do. Oh, by the way, that's why I wrote this book. WTF America right here. That's one of the exact reasons. You know, some of these things just aren't political issues. I mean, it's just WTF America. I wrote this with my brothers. I'll put you scan the QR code, pre-order it. The book comes out in October. I'll talk more about it in a moment as well. But it's like WTF, like you hear what Trump's saying, just stand up. And by the way, that's why I like people like Senator.
So I'm here to talk about Joe and Kamala. And I've known Joe since 2006, and this is what I think that's something really important, and that is you cannot build anything unless you build it on the truth. And I believe that that's one of Joe's great attributes, is he is honest, he is truthful, He knows what he's doing. He's smart. I mean, he's not going to come in with no one. He's coming in with the best people, and they're ready to work, and they're ready to try and change what this man in the White House has done. He is ripping the guts out of America. If he got 4 more years, we wouldn't recognize it. We wouldn't have any of the freedoms that we have. I don't even know that we're going to be able to get the freedoms back. It's going to take a long, long time to get the freedoms back that we've taken for granted, and especially that young people have taken for granted. They don't know. Like, when I was a young girl, which is so many years ago, I can't remember, but when I was a young girl, women were introduced by their husbands' names. They would be introduced as, oh, this is Mrs. John Richards. And I would say to my mother, what kind of is this? I was about 10. And I...
Meaning her opposition to Trump was never simply reactive commentary from the sidelines, but part of a broader, consistent pattern of direct political engagement stretching back years before his campaign even began. That established track record of genuine activism, rather than opportunistic celebrity commentary, is part of what has made entertainment journalists take her Trump criticism seriously enough to compile entire retrospective features cataloging her sharpest material. Let's start at the very beginning, because Cher's opposition to Trump did not begin with his presidency. It began the literal week he announced his candidacy in June of 2015, and her reaction set the tone for everything that would follow. Donald Trump's ego is so inflated, he might as well be the Hindenburg, she wrote on Twitter, a reference to the catastrophic 1937 airship disaster that remains one of the most enduring metaphors for spectacular, fiery collapse in the American cultural lexicon. She followed with another line that has been repeatedly cited by entertainment outlets cataloging her sharpest material over the years. In dictionary next to obnoxious o-hole, see photo of the Donald. When a fan asked her, during that same early campaign period, which of the 50 states she thought Trump could realistically carry in a general election, her answer was immediate and characteristically blunt: the state of desperation. That is Cher, at 69 years old at the time, establishing within days of Trump's campaign announcement exactly the tone and register she would maintain, with remarkable consistency, for the following decade. Vice magazine itself dedicated an entire feature to analyzing what made her specific approach to social media commentary so distinctive, publishing a piece with the memorable framing that if Twitter is a swimming pool, then Cher is doing bombs off the highest possible diving board. That article argued that Cher's genuinely unfiltered, authentic voice, the all caps, the unconventional capitalization, the numerical abbreviations standing in for words, represented something increasingly rare in an era of heavily managed celebrity social media presences run by publicists and communications teams. Where most public figures' accounts read like carefully workshopped press releases, Cher's has consistently read like exactly what it is: an 80-year-old entertainer typing exactly what she thinks, in real time, without any apparent filter between thought and publication. That authenticity is precisely why entertainment journalists have continued treating her commentary as newsworthy across an entire decade, rather than dismissing it as generic celebrity noise.
Senator Ossoff, who's out there fighting and standing up, and there are some Democratic fighters as well. And then the WTF, you've got Donald Trump saying yesterday, you know what I like about my big, beautiful bill? It helped my friends buy private jets. It helped my friends. Yeah. WTF, America. Here, play this clip right here.
We delivered 100% expensing, and that expensing, I think, we write it off in 1 year. I have friends that bought things that, frankly, they didn't need. I have a friend that never flew in a private plane in his life, and he ended up going out buying a very expensive private plane because of expensing 1 year.
Then his energy secretary, Chris Wright, goes on and he's like, the data centers are the greatest tool we have now to stop the rise in electricity prices. Data centers use electricity. They don't make electricity. Why is the energy secretary saying data centers make electricity? WTF, America. Right? WTF. Pre-order. Here, play this clip.
And of course, unfortunately, Governor Hochul has it exactly backwards. Data centers are the greatest tool we have right now to stop the rise of electricity prices and ultimately to bring them back down. It's the Democrat green energy policies that have driven energy prices up in New York State actually shrunk their total electricity production. I mean, they banned fracking. They blocked a pipeline to bring natural gas, the biggest source of energy in New York. They closed the Indian Point nuclear reactor. They passed these crazy green energy mandates and an insane climate law. So the energy is expensive in New York and now sparse because of bad Democrat policies, nothing to do with data centers. In fact, that's the solution, not the problem.
Then you have Donald Trump posting yesterday, again, while the American people are suffering, while Americans are psychologically tortured from this regime. This is a real post. The Trump coin, everybody. Here, play this clip. Yeah. WTF, what the hell? Then this MAGA Republican senator is out there. MAGA Republican senator, she's out there and she's asked, in your mind, are Senator Ossoff and Warnock duly elected? Here, play this clip.
In your mind, are Senators Ossoff and Warnock duly chosen and sworn?
I don't know.
Yeah, WTF America. And then Donald Trump says, Iran wants to settle so badly. Here, play this clip.
He's such a dangerous.
And singer Cher has emphasized the importance of voting, tweeting that President Trump, quote, governs by hate, fear, divisiveness.
Well, I saw something on television, and I just thought I can.
Now let's talk about her comments during the 2016 campaign itself, because this is where her criticism first began drawing serious national media attention, and it deserves to be understood in its full, accurately quoted context. Because as we noted, some of her real quotes from this period have recently been recirculated online as though they were new, which makes getting the actual history right even more important. In an interview with the Press Association published by outlets, including The Telegraph and HuffPost UK in September of 2016, Cher described herself as genuinely traumatized by Trump, warning that his potential election would fundamentally change America. She said, in comments that were accurately reported at the time and have since been repeatedly misattributed to more recent dates, he's in a hole. He's so dangerous, and what he brings to my country, what he's awakened in my country is bigotry and distrust and a certain kind of supremacy in certain groups. And he lies. He tells something. And then you go back and see what he said. And it seems like the truth both times. He's so terrific at lying. I've never seen anybody so good. She closed that specific interview segment with a line that captures something genuinely honest about the emotional toll of following politics this closely. I could go on and on this subject forever because I'm so traumatized by it. That quote is real, accurately sourced to 2016, and it establishes that Cher's core critique of Trump, specifically his relationship with truth and his effect on American social cohesion, has remained remarkably consistent for nearly a decade, even as individual news cycles and specific controversies have shifted around it. It's worth including one more real, documented data point from this exact period, because it shows her Trump commentary extending beyond social media posts into more traditional press interviews as well. In an interview with The Guardian, published as Trump's 2024 campaign was building momentum, Cher stated plainly that his potential re-election would drive her to leave the United States entirely, telling the outlet, I almost got an ulcer the last time. If he gets in, who knows? That specific comment, genuine, on the record, in one of the world's most respected newspapers, connects her real, documented anxiety about a second Trump term to the exact same broader pattern of celebrity relocation threats we've covered extensively on this channel through Rosie O'Donnell's actual move to Ireland.
They want to settle so badly. They don't like what we're doing. And they do want to settle. We'll find out whether or not we settle with them or we just finish it off.
And he says, Iran, they want to settle soon. They want to do a deal. They want to settle. They want to be, they'll be defeated. Here, just play this other clip of him.
Booming, and we'll have Iran defeated soon. They'll be defeated very soon. And then I guess it'll be even better. But, even during this, it's been amazing. I mean,
I know, so utterly embarrassing. And then again, late last night, as I noted earlier, you had Marco Rubio announce 25% tariffs on most Brazilian imports. And if you're saying, Ben, I thought the Supreme Court declared the tariffs unlawful, you'd be right. So the Trump regime tried one scheme, tried another scheme, and now they did something that they call Section 301 investigations, where even though America has a trade surplus with Brazil, a surplus in the amount of nearly $450 million, the Trump regime declared the trade tactics by Brazil to be an unlawful cartel harming the United States. President Lula of Brazil, who's in an election against Jair Bolsonaro's son. Jair Bolsonaro is convicted of engaging in an insurrection, and he's been basically thrown in prison by the Brazilian Supreme Court for the rest of his life. Lula's running against Jair's kid, Flavio Bolsonaro. Lula leads by about, depending on the poll, there's 2 rounds. The first round's October, then there's a runoff, but anywhere from 10 to 20%. But it could potentially narrow. So Donald Trump, Rubio, the Trump regime wants the insurrection people. So they root for the Bolsonaro. They're trying to push the Bolsonaros. So even here, what Lula says right here, this will go down in history as one of the worst days in relations between the United States and Brazil. This happened last night. And then Lula says exactly what it is, that this is part of the plot with the active collaboration of the Bolsonaro family, driven by electoral objectives. One cannot love Brazil only when we win elections. Protecting our sovereignty is an obligation that stands above all parties and all trends. By the way, in WTF America, I focus a lot on the international issues as well, not just the gamesmanship of day-to-day politics, what's going on internationally. So hit subscribe, help us get to 7 million subscribers. Get a copy, pre-order, WTF America. There's the QR code. Just scan the QR code and pre-order it now. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you, and hopefully you like the book. I spent a long time, a lot of sleepless nights writing this book. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you. Let's get to 7 million subscribers to it. Hit the QR code.
Breaking news right now, my brothers and I wrote a book. It's called WTF America. And well, doesn't that just say it all? It comes out officially this October, but
I've seen what has gone on. I have seen how we've changed as a group of people, especially women. Not everybody. I see that I was so ignorant too until cell phones came out. I didn't know what was going on in the Black community. I didn't know what was going on in the Latino community. Not that I didn't know, but I never saw it. You know, so I am excited about making this world a better place. I'm excited about Joe making this world a better place because he wants to. I have talked to him about this. You know, this is not my conjecture. This is me talking to him. And also I was saying, like, what are you going to do, dude? What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? I hope you're going to do something like this. Or is anything going to be green? You know, are we going to, he's got this idea to make jobs where there were no jobs before. You know, he's got an idea how to make jobs where there were no jobs before. And I don't know if people, they're good jobs.
Whether Cher herself followed through on that stated intention is a separate question from whether the comment itself was real and accurately reported. And it was. If you appreciate that, we're giving you the real, fact-checked history instead of a manufactured confrontation. Hit that like button right now and subscribe to USA Press, because that kind of honesty is exactly what separates real reporting from clickbait. Share this with someone who's been fooled by one of those fake Cher destroys Trump videos. Let's move into Trump's actual presidency, because this is where the documented back and forth genuinely escalated into direct, mutual public engagement. Not a single dramatic television moment, but a sustained, years-long pattern of real exchanges. In 2019, Cher publicly criticized the administration's transgender military ban, tweeting that the policy amounted to Trump pandering to his right-wing base. A specific, substantive policy criticism rather than simply personal insult. That same year, following comments Trump made about undocumented immigration and Los Angeles' capacity to absorb new arrivals, Cher engaged Trump directly in what ABC News covered at the time as an actual war of words, playing out in real time on Twitter, questioning the practical logistics of his stated immigration plans. And in one of the more striking documented exchanges of that entire year, after Trump posted that he agreed with Cher's own stated position on immigration, she did not accept the apparent compliment. She doubled down, calling him an ignorant thug in the very same breath as acknowledging the agreement, a response The Hill covered at the time precisely because of how unusual it was for a celebrity to reject a president's public agreement with her own stated position rather than simply accepting it. It's worth grounding the transgender military ban criticism in a bit more real policy context, because it demonstrates Cher engaging with substantive administration policy rather than purely personal grievance. The ban Trump announced during his first term sought to prohibit transgender individuals from serving openly in the United States Armed Forces, a policy that drew sustained legal challenges and was eventually implemented in modified form following extended court battles. Cher's specific criticism, that the policy represented pandering to his right-wing base, engaged directly with the substance of the policy debate rather than simply attacking Trump's character in the abstract, connecting to her broader, consistent theme across a decade of commentary. That many of his most controversial policy decisions reflected political calculation aimed at his base rather than genuine policy conviction. Let's talk about the Toy Boy tweet specifically, because it deserves to be understood with real nuance rather than either excused entirely or used to dismiss her broader criticism wholesale.
Donald Trump just finished his disastrous national address. I mean, it was like the worst speech ever. I'll show you what went down. I was debating whether I should do a video on it, but I saw a lot of people on C-SPAN say they were waiting for my summary. So I wanted to show you how horrible it was. And also it's backfiring in Donald Trump's face immediately because the Trump regime said they would be declassifying certain files regarding the 2020 election. And most of those files talk about how Russia tried to interfere in the election to harm former President Biden and to help Donald Trump, which Donald Trump conveniently left out of his national address. Now, what should be noted is also Donald Trump continued to glitch during this address. I mean, he struggled to put together sentences. Now, one of his teleprompter people, even the teleprompter people in the Trump regime are in on the grift and the criming. Apparently, the teleprompter person was previously betting on Kalshi on what Donald Trump would say once the teleprompter person would get the speech in advance. So Trump had a new teleprompter person, but I don't think the teleprompter person would have helped him. Trump looked sickly. He looked disgusting. He is disgusting. Let me show you what went down though. Here, I don't even know what he's trying to say or I'm trying to figure out what even happened here, but he just starts saying words. This is what he said in his national address. Let's play it.
My first administration in our 2020 campaign, they did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win.
Then Donald Trump said, now I will talk about a very serious issue. Donald Trump said, I was hot and China made me appear less hot. And I don't like that because we're hot. Kid you not, this is what he said. What is going on here? Play this clip.
In 2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job.
And then Donald Trump says, I am calling for the revocation of broadcast licenses of ABC and NBC for not broadcasting this speech. I'm ordering that we go after them. Here, play this clip.
Like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true.
If your president doesn't care if you live or die, that's a pretty hard pill to swallow, because you're just sitting there going, why isn't someone helping me?
I would love to see Trump impeached, brought to trial, locked up in prison, and Toy Boy Big Bubba. The tweet went viral immediately, and Cher, to her real credit, did not simply let the backlash pass without acknowledgement. She deleted the tweet and, according to AOL's coverage at the time, made clear that she was not apologizing to Trump himself or walking back her substantive criticism of his conduct. But she did specifically address and take responsibility for the crude prison rape joke embedded in the post, acknowledging it had been a poor and insensitive choice of words. That distinction matters because it shows a public figure capable of separating a legitimate, sustained policy critique from a single bad joke that deserved its own separate accountability, rather than either doubling down defensively on everything she'd said or abandoning her broader criticism entirely because of one misstep. It's worth including more of the specific material Billboard catalogued in that retrospective, because the range of her material demonstrates real comedic range alongside the harder-edged political commentary. Beyond the Hindenburg comparison, her documented material has included offering Trump mock advice on debate performance, extended riffs on his hair and physical appearance delivered with the same comic timing she's applied throughout her entertainment career, and repeated invocations of specific policy failures tied directly to breaking news events rather than generic complaints. That range, moving fluidly between pure comedic mockery and substantive policy criticism, sometimes within the same single post, is part of what made her account, according to multiple entertainment outlets covering it over the years, genuinely distinct from most other celebrity political commentary during this period. Now let's get into some of the material that entertainment outlets have specifically catalogued as her sharpest, most quotable Trump commentary over the years, because Billboard itself published a full retrospective titled Cher's 10 Best Trump Tweets, documenting a body of work substantial enough to warrant its own dedicated feature. In May of 2019, she posted an extended rant that Yahoo Entertainment covered under the headline, Cher slams POTUS and family in Twitter rant. There is nothing good in Trump, his children, a post that extended her criticism beyond Trump personally to encompass his broader family enterprise. A theme we've documented extensively on this channel through our coverage of Mary Trump's own family history commentary and the real, independently verified New York Times investigation into the Trump family's inherited wealth. Let's talk about one of the more genuinely raw and difficult posts in her entire documented history, because it deserves to be included, honestly, even though it represents some of her harshest and most personally aimed language. Cher once posted, in full, "I wish Trump every moment of suffering he's brought our country. Every moment of pain he's caused our people and for. Every VT he's called stupid or a loser may. He never draw an easy breath, may. Their parents, siblings, spouses, children haunt his every worthless, empty, cowardice breath." That post, real, verified, still publicly accessible on her account.
You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing.
Okay. Then Donald Trump says, now Congress, you must pass his voter suppression act, which he calls the Save America Act. It's easy. How easy? Unless you're pathetic. I mean, isn't this guy the biggest frickin' loser? We're just watching like a frickin' loser right here. How embarrassing to the United States. And by the way, he's giving this speech while engaged in war crimes in Iran, like the loser terrorist that he is. Here, play this clip.
But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way.
More of Donald Trump trying to read off the teleprompter as Iran is striking back in its Arab neighbor nation, striking back at Donald Trump's attacking of the Iranian bridges. Donald Trump's like, we are winning big in Iran. You will see the fruits of the labor very, very shortly. The fruits of what do you mean? Your war crimes, you maniac? Here, play this clip.
We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly.
More from Donald Trump over here, talking about attacking marginalized communities and men's and women's. Dude, stop with this crap. The American people are suffering. The strategic petroleum reserves have hit tank bottom, you idiot. You loser, you scumbag. Here, play this clip.
Men and women's sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. 2 years ago, our country was dead. Now we are the hottest, country anywhere in the world, America is respected like we have never been respected before.
More from this loser scumbag, right? I mean, isn't this the most embarrassing speech you've ever seen? And he goes, he starts his speech. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that it seems like he's vomiting. Just go with Natalie Harp and vomit on her. Vomit away from us. Disgusting. Here, play this clip.
Good evening. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great.
Then Donald Trump is like, starting during the 2020 election, China engaged in a nefarious act. They bought voter lists. Okay, let's go look right here. United States Election Assistance Commission, voter list. Oh no, the Chinese obtained information through illicit means that they could have just asked for. All states except North Carolina require citizens to register with the state or local election.
Not AI. No, because someone did me singing a Madonna song. And it was kind of shocking. They didn't have it down perfectly, but also I've spent my entire life trying to be myself, and now these assholes are going to go take it, and they'll do my acting, and they'll do my singing, and I mean, it's out of control.
Represents genuinely extreme language, wishing suffering on another human being in explicit terms. We're including it not to celebrate it, but because a fully honest accounting of Cher's documented history has to include the moments that push well past ordinary political criticism into something considerably darker and more personal. Reasonable people can and should question whether language wishing someone's deceased or living relatives haunt their every breath represents legitimate political speech or something that crosses into territory no public figure, regardless of how justified their underlying grievance, should engage in. It's worth including one more real, documented thread from this exact period, because it demonstrates her commentary extending into the formal impeachment proceedings that punctuated Trump's first term. Cher was among the celebrities who publicly weighed in during both of Trump's first-term impeachment proceedings, using her platform to express support for the underlying process while continuing her characteristic pattern of blending substantive commentary with her distinctive, unfiltered personal voice. That consistency across multiple, entirely separate news cycles and controversies. The transgender ban, immigration policy, impeachment, the 2020 election, and now the entirety of his second term, is precisely what distinguishes her from a celebrity who simply reacts to whatever controversy happens to be trending in a given week. She has, by any reasonable measure, maintained one continuous, evolving argument about the same subject for the better part of a decade. Let me give you my full, honest analysis of Cher's overall body of work on this subject, because I think a fair accounting requires holding multiple things true at once. Some of her criticism, the ignorant thug comment tied directly to a specific policy exchange, the transgender military ban criticism, the consistent, decade-long focus on Trump's relationship with truth and honesty, represents genuine, substantive political commentary from a public figure exercising her First Amendment rights in exactly the way American celebrities have done for generations. Other material, particularly the toy boy joke and the every breath post, represents something considerably raw and less defensible. Language that even sympathetic observers might reasonably criticize as excessive, regardless of how strongly they might agree with her underlying political assessment of the administration. We think a genuinely fair-minded news operation has to be willing to make that distinction, rather than either canonizing every word a beloved cultural figure says simply because we might agree with her politics, or dismissing her entire decade of documented commentary because of a handful of its harshest individual moments. It's worth extending that analysis with a broader point about celebrity political discourse generally, because Cher's specific pattern is not unique to her.
Elections, the forms collect information such as where a voter lives, receives their mail. Some of the information may be available for free or for purchase by other people and groups for election, scholarly, journalistic, political, or government purposes. Oh my gosh, did they do what you could just buy? Here, play this clip.
Over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China has signed a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project.
Then Donald Trump again struggling to talk. I don't know, maybe they should have waited till tomorrow to get rid of the Kalshi betting teleprompter guy, the inside trading teleprompter guy. Here, play this clip.
They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason.
But you know when the teleprompter guy is engaging in inside trading, it's just the rot that permeates where even the teleprompter guy is seeing everybody inside trading, everybody grifting and screwing over the American people. So he's like, why don't I get mine also? This is the criminal cartel Trump regime. Then Donald Trump is out there and he goes, China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Donald, you filed so many lawsuits that you lost. There is no evidence of any of these things. You are a liar, and what you've declassified, I'm going to show the Midas Mighty in a moment, but it actually overwhelmingly shows the Russians trying to harm Biden. Here, play this clip.
China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail.
By the way, I'm just doing the plug. I'm just going to do it. WTF, right? This is why the perfect title to the book, WTF. It's a pre-order it right now. It's out. This is the book which comes out October. WTF. When I watch this, that's all I say. WTF. Then Donald Trump, again, can't put a sentence together. Secure election should be partisan. What do you even say? What are you even saying? Here, play this clip.
Their election system anywhere in the world. Secure election should be a partisan, really, we should be together. Democrats, Republicans, independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided.
Then Donald Trump says, today we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a plot, Venezuela, Maduro, just saying words. By the way, Rudy Giuliani at the Four Seasons landscape was far more coherent than whatever the hell this is. And by the way, you know he's going to pardon Maduro to be like, yeah, Donald, it was Venezuela, Donald. Okay, Donald. That's what you know he's going to do this. What a clown. Here, play this clip.
Of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings and spanning from...
They pay well, and I'm not sure if people care what kind of a job, as long as it's honest, it pays well, and it doesn't kill you, you know? So yes. Oh, thank you. Also, I wanted to tell you this, and it's by way of explaining something about me that you don't know. So my grandmother picked cotton. And my grandmother picked cotton with my mother on the gunny sack. And it was a very rough existence. My mother got a job. My mother had a job where you called in every day to see if you had a job for the next day. Was there a time then was really horribly embarrassing for me. I mean, it's something I'm never going to forget. And where I lost the soles of my shoes, and so I had to put rubber bands around the soles of my shoes so I could walk to school. So when I say I understand what people are going through, you never forget this. You know, I never will forget the things that I had to go through when I was young, and I want people to have better.
It reflects a broader tension that applies across nearly every public figure we've covered on this channel who has spoken out against this administration. The same tension exists in George Conway's most provocative comparisons, in Rosie O'Donnell's harshest posts, in the language various commentators have used across this entire series. Passionate political engagement, sustained over years, inevitably produces both its most carefully reasoned moments and its most raw, unfiltered ones. And a genuinely honest news operation owes its audience the discipline to evaluate each statement on its own terms, rather than either uncritically celebrating everything a sympathetic figure says or wholesale dismissing a decade of substantive commentary. Because of its weakest individual moments. Now, let's talk about why this real history matters more than any fabricated confrontation ever could, because I think there's a genuinely important lesson here about how misinformation actually spreads. The fake Cher destroys Trump on live TV videos we identified at the start of this report exist precisely because Cher's real, documented history of criticizing Trump is already so extensive and well established that a fabricated addition to that record is genuinely difficult for casual viewers to distinguish from something real. That is exactly how successful misinformation typically operates. Not by inventing something wholly implausible, but by adding a fictional embellishment onto a foundation that is already substantially true. Cher really has spent a decade criticizing Trump relentlessly. She really has generated dozens of viral, widely covered tweets and interview quotes. A fabricated story about her exposing him on live television slots seamlessly into an already established pattern, which is precisely why it spreads so effectively and why it's worth taking the time, as we did tonight, to separate the documented record from the manufactured edition. It's worth explaining a bit more about how this specific kind of content farm operation typically functions, because understanding the mechanics helps viewers protect themselves from similar manipulation involving other public figures. These operations generally follow a predictable pattern. Identify a real public figure with a genuine, well-documented history of controversial statements, then generate new, plausible-sounding but entirely fabricated content attributed to that same person, often using AI text generation tools to produce dozens of nearly identical variations distributed across multiple channels and websites simultaneously. The Snopes investigation into the fake Caroline Leavitt exchange specifically traced the original fabricated article back to a website displaying signs of its owners residing in Vietnam.
January 2020 to June 2026. This is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up.
More from Trump right over here. Today, I'm asking the office of the Director of National Intelligence, the DOJ, the FBI, to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden. John Ratcliffe, your current CIA director, was the ODNI in your first regime. He was the Director of National Intelligence. Your CIA director now is the guy you're accusing of the crimes? Or you're accusing your own first administration, John Ratcliffe and the whole crew? Your people were the criminals. Here, play this clip.
Bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people.
Then Donald Trump goes on to say, they kept the reports from me. Dozens of reports were kept from my daily briefing. You will look at go Ratcliffe. He's your current CIA director. He's out there making things horrible in Iran as well. Here, play this clip.
Is now under review, but it gets even worse. Raw intelligence
and a certain kind of supremacy in certain groups, and
he showed who he was even before Central Park 5 and saying that President Obama was Kenyan. Very kind of sexy or something. Also, he promises
a detail that underscores how much of this specific genre of American political misinformation is actually produced by overseas content farms with purely commercial, engagement-driven motives rather than any genuine domestic political agenda on either side. Let me give you my prediction section now, clearly labeled, because I think Cher's documented pattern over the past decade tells us something reliable about what to expect going forward. Prediction 1. Expect Cher to continue posting real-time reactions to major Trump administration news as it breaks, because her documented pattern across a full decade shows remarkable consistency. She has responded to nearly every major controversy of both Trump terms, from the transgender military ban to immigration policy to impeachment proceedings, typically within hours of the news breaking. Prediction 2. Expect continued, fabricated content using her name and image to circulate online, precisely because her genuine, well-established reputation as one of Trump's most consistent celebrity critics makes her an attractive target for exactly the kind of AI-generated engagement farming content we identified and debunked at the top of this report. Her real credibility is what makes the fake versions of her commentary spread so effectively. Prediction 3, and this is the one I think matters most. Watch for continued fact-checking organizations like Snopes to keep flagging recycled or fabricated Cher quotes specifically, because her decade-plus paper trail is now extensive enough that bad actors can mix genuine older quotes with fabricated new context, exactly as happened with the recirculated 2016 traumatized quote being passed off as recent commentary. A pattern that will likely only accelerate as AI text generation tools become more sophisticated and more widely available to exactly the kind of overseas content farms Snopes identified in its investigation. Here is the deeper truth sitting underneath everything we've covered tonight, and it is worth sitting with as we close.
Obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press.
And then he goes, I'm announcing the immediate declassification of these documents. Great, we just saw them. I'll show the might is mighty in a second. Here, play this clip.
Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes and really exposes like levels never thought possible to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people.
Now, as I said, I wasn't sure I was going to even do this video because the speech was so bad. But then I saw your comments on C-SPAN. I saw your comments and you said, I'm going to get my summary from Midas. So I have to do the video. This is what happened on C-SPAN. Let's play it.
That don't have a Mercedes in their garage. Cora, are you going to watch it? It's about 13 minutes from now. It's going to start. Are you going to watch?
No, I am not going to watch. It's going to be the same ranting that he always does. And what I'm going to do, I'll get a summary from Midas or a summary from somewhere else. But this guy, I call him a guy. I don't have no respect for him. That he just makes me sick. And there's many people out here that are not, maybe don't watch the news or don't know what's going on. It's sad. It's sad. We're embarrassed. We're embarrassing. They're making jokes about America.
That's Cora in California. Now, Stanage, on who will and who won't watch.
And then shout out to Senator Warner, who went on CBS and called them out for airing this whole thing live. And then the CBS guy.
I want people to feel good about themselves. I want them to have a good living. I want schools to be decent and not just for rich kids. I want schools to be decent for everyone. I have a friend named Karen Weaver. She was the mayor of Flint, Michigan. And I saw what she had to go through. They gave her nothing. They lied about everything. And she got fired because she was bugging the governor and she was trying to get water for her people. So just because, a lot of times it seems like the people at the top
sometimes undermines the persuasive power of her more substantive policy critiques by giving critics an easy target to point to instead of engaging with the underlying argument. That is a fair point worth including. When a public figure's most viral, most widely covered moments are her harshest personal insults rather than her more carefully reasoned policy criticisms, it becomes easier for opponents to dismiss her entire body of work based on its most extreme examples, regardless of how much genuinely substantive commentary sits alongside them. This is USA Press. If tonight's deep dive gave you the real, fact-checked history behind a story that's been badly distorted online, hit that like button right now. It costs you 1 second and it puts accurate information in front of thousands more people who might otherwise be fooled by the fake version. And in an information environment this crowded with AI-generated content farms, that 1 second genuinely matters more than it used to. Subscribe to USA Press and turn on notifications, because we are committed to giving you the real story every single time, even when the manufactured version might generate more clicks in the short term. Drop a comment and tell us. Did you see one of those fake Cher destroys Trump videos before finding this one? And were you surprised by how much real, documented material actually exists once you strip away the fabrication? And where do you personally draw the line between legitimate political criticism and language that goes too far, even from someone whose underlying political assessment you might agree with? We want to hear where you land. Stay sharp, stay informed, and remember, the real story is almost always more interesting than the fake one, if you're willing to actually go looking for it.